What's up, people? Today I'm shooting a video on how to make a dynamic tempo grid in Pro Tools. So I've done videos before on how to create a grid from a performance that was not recorded to a click. This is sort of the opposite of that, where you recorded a performance to the click, but maybe that performance shifts a little bit, or it's not super tight with the click. We are, after all, hopefully human. But it still is a good recording, or it has a vibe to it that you want to maintain. So you don't want to re-record it and try to make yourself into a robot. You like the recording, but you want to be able to shift bar and beat markers around a little bit to match what you did. And there's a really kind of cool and easy way to do this. So here we go. So I just have this little like ukulele and acoustic recording I did in a really kind of lousy but basic drum track. And you can hear it was recorded to a click. But in some places it got a little bit loose. And now the whole thing with creating bar and beat markers is Command I, or if you're on a PC it's Windows I. So like if I wanted to go right here, let's say I can tab to that spot and I could make a bar and beat marker by going Command or Windows I and say, okay, well that actually wants to be the fourth beat of that measure, so that would be 1 4 0 0 0. But I'm going to Command Z that, or Windows Z undo, because that's not what I want to do. The whole point or idea of this video is to not have to do all that stuff where you're tabbing to transient and thinking about what this should be. There's another way you can do that, where I could go into grid mode, F4, or just click on grid, and just go and click right here on well, first thing you got to do, actually, before I do that, is figure out what you want your grid resolution to be. So, like, do I want it to be... I'm just hitting Control Option, or on PC, Control Alt, plus and minus on my numeric keypad to change my grid resolution. But if that doesn't work for you, or you can't remember or find that key command or whatever, you can just go up here and change your grid resolution up here. So what you want to do is figure out, like, you can even see it just looking at the waveform, like what... I used T to zoom in, by the way, as long as this little A to Z button is on. What do I want my grid resolution to be? And like right now, it's twice what I need it to be, because I have grid lines in here where there's nothing happening. So like I want to change out to be a little bit bigger, so it's actually at an 1/8 note. And you can see actually what I'm talking about here, where like the grid line isn't matching up. If I blow up my waveform a little bit, you can see it better. Option Command right bracket, by the way, or Alt Windows right bracket. You can see that it's like not right on the money. So what I can do is go into grid mode. I've got my grid resolution now set, and just click on the grid lines and just go, okay, Command I, and just hit enter. So you're just making a bar and beat marker where it is. You know, we haven't done anything fancy yet. So then again, just clicking right in grid mode on the 1/8 note grid line, Command I again, Command I again, Command I again, and actually that's actually enough for the whole thing. So now what I can do is select. I just, again, in grid mode, just clicked here and click and drag, or you could hit Shift Return, whatever you want to do. And now I got to Shift click into this ruler up here, but then I'm going to Command or Windows click here to deselect the tracks, so that now just this is selected up here. So now if I zoom out a little bit, I could just go Command D or Windows D, or I could hit Option R and hit like 100, or Alt R if you're on PC, just so that it's duplicating that out across the whole session. So now, if I go back to the beginning, I've got all these markers I can just move around. And why this is so cool, why this is better than just making one and doing it, is because if I just made one and moved it, everything after that in the session would get moved, and you're going to screw everything up. So now that I've got one on each 1/8 note everywhere, it's like those are for the moment locked in. So for example, even well, I'm going to leave that alone. Even if I go here and grab this one and move it, and I got to kind of choose, do I want it to line up with my ukulele or my acoustic. I don't want to overcomplicate this. So for the moment, let's just line it up with a ukulele. Because, you got to at some point choose what is kind of the rhythmic backbone of your session. So let's just kill those acoustics. So, okay, I moved that one here. I moved this one here. And now you can go through and like so easily eyeball, like, oh, that was a little off. This one's a little off. And move all of these just to match your performance. I'm using R to zoom out a little bit. T to zoom back in. Like, oh, that one is a little bit late. I can move it. And you can see actually it's moving that drum beat as I do that. Here, this one is a little bit late. This one is way early, or maybe it's way late. Like at some point you might say, is it that? You got to go listen, which I'm not going to bother to do right now. That's it. That's the whole beauty of this tip. And you can see like across this whole thing, there are a lot of spots where I could do that. You could say it wasn't the greatest performance. Maybe it wasn't, but also I'm human. And I actually like the sound of this performance enough that I actually did do this in my complete session. That's it. Now you got a movable, dynamic bar and beat grid across your whole session. I think that's a pretty neat trick. I hope it's helpful to you. Thanks for checking out this video.